Hi, my name is Alan and this is my 12th attempt at making a YouTube video. On this trip we are headed out to Clewiston, Florida to ride our bikes along alligator-infested Lake Okeechobee, stop for a beverage at Uncle Joe's Fish Camp, and then hit the Clewiston Sugar Festival for some live music and festival fun. As I stated in our Fish Eating Creek video, we love to come out to Clewiston. It is only an hour and 15 minutes away from home, but being out here is like a whole different world compared to congested Fort Lauderdale. Even though it's relatively close to South Florida, 90% of the people I bring up Clewiston to have never even heard of it. Clewiston is a farming town and is very dependent on the surrounding sugarcane fields to support its economy. Since it is a farming town, life moves at a much slower pace than back in Fort Lauderdale. Clewiston sits on the south side of Lake Okeechobee. It is often referred to as the bass fishing capital of the world. Roland Martin has a hotel and marina here with a campground we like to stay at. Since we arrived at Clewiston early, we decided to park the truck near where the festival was set up and then ride our bikes through Clewiston, past one of our favorite bars, Brenda's Place, past the Roland Martin Marina and Campground, and make a quick stop at the Hoover Dike Road City Boat Ramp for a quick restroom break before climbing up the hill to reach the top of the dike. Lake Okeechobee is Florida's largest lake. At over 730 square miles, it is often referred to as Florida's inland sea. It is named for the Seminole word meaning big water. At over 60 miles across in places, you definitely can't see across to the other side. Even though it is vast in size, it is not very deep, with the average depth only being 9 feet. It is the 8th largest lake in the United States and the 2nd largest to be contained entirely inside the lower 48, with only Lake Michigan being larger. The lake is primarily fed by the Kissimmee River that feeds into it from the north, and also Fish Eating Creek feeds into the lake on the west side. Lake Okeechobee is a crucial part of the Everglades ecosystem. It is also a major supplier of fresh water to South Florida. Lake Okeechobee is entirely surrounded by the 143-mile-long Herbert Hoover Dike. It was built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for flood control after devastating hurricanes hit the area in the 1920s and 1940s that caused very deadly flooding to the communities around the lake. How you guys doing? How's it going, guys? Hi. A good portion of the Lake Okeechobee Scenic Trail sits atop the dike. At an average height of 30 feet, it is one of the few hills we actually have to pedal up when we take our bicycles out, since almost all of southern Florida is entirely flat. A few things to be aware of on this ride. First thing, there is zero shade except for at the pump stations, so you will definitely need to be sunscreen ready. Second is, this ride isn't very fun when the winds are strong, as there is nothing slowing that wind down when it's coming across the lake. We definitely like to only come out here on calm days, and we only do this ride during the winter months. Once atop the dike, you get to see how magnificent the view of the lake is up here. This ride, however, we are heading west towards Moorhaven. This is an area of the Okeechobee Scenic Trail that the lake isn't visible, but is a bit more scenic, and there are usually lots of alligators to see. The trail on this part of the lake has vast sugarcane fields as far as you can see on one side. You can often see the trains moving through the fields transporting the sugarcane to the mills to be processed. I find tranquility in being up here and watching these trains pass by. The other side of the trail is bordered by marshlands that are teeming with wildlife. Besides spotting alligators, this stretch of trail is also great for bird watching. You can see wood storks, herons, bald eagles, sand-billed cranes, osprey, falcons, and many other species along the trail. If you've made it this far into the video, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons, as we are always planning more wild Florida adventures. Finally, after riding 7 miles from where we parked the car, we made it to our early adult beverage stop, Uncle Joe's Fish Camp. We found Uncle Joe's a few years ago when we took the bikes to Clewiston for the first time, and we fell in love with it out here. We also like that you are able to launch the boat from right here when we bring it out. It is a popular stop for hikers and bikers using the Lake Okeechobee Scenic Trail, as well as fishermen for its easy access to the lake. We've primitive camped at Uncle Joe's a few times. The sunsets out here are phenomenal. They charge $20 a night. They also rent cabins and have RV sites with full hookups. You're not going to get an IPA or craft beer here. You're not going to get a fancy cocktail. You'll get a Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, neutral flavors, and that's about it. But when you're on a bike ride in the blazing sun, that's perfect. Especially in an old school Florida gym like this. Alright, let's get out of here and go see some country music. We have our Indianapolis Colts golf cart. Uncle Joe's was established just after the end of the Second World War using cabins purchased and relocated from Riddle Field in Clewiston, where British airmen trained during the war. In addition to the beers and seltzers at the bar, they also sell bait and have some basic food supplies for purchase. After grabbing a couple quick beverages, it was time to head back to Clewiston as I wanted to see some live music and check out some classic cars. Hi. Today we spotted at least 25 alligators. This is one of the more difficult spots for me to get any good photos or videos of them, as it's difficult to get up close as most are in the canal and, well, you're atop a 30-foot levee. The gators tend to be much more skittish than other spots we go to. I believe it's because they get spooked with us being up higher than they are. Maybe one day I'll actually get better at using my drone and get better shots when we come out here. Finally, after packing up our bikes, it was time to head over and see some music at the Clewiston Sugar Festival. The Sugar Festival's roots originate back to the original end of the harvest celebrations from the 1930s that were hosted by the U.S. Sugar Corporation. In April, when the mill shut down after grinding the last carload of sugar cane, workers and their families gathered for a company barbecue. Tables were set up, the mill was cleaned, and the day ended with a formal dance at the Sugarland Auditorium. That night, employees cast their votes to crown the king and queen of sugar. In 1986, the Clewiston Merchant Association revived the idea as a citywide event to showcase the community and honor the sugar industry that serves as its economic foundation. Since then, it has turned into a multi-day celebration featuring live music, fair rides, a petting zoo, a car show, food trucks, local artists and merchants selling their wares, and more. And the entire event is free to attend. One of my favorite things to see is the classic cars, especially the old muscle cars. If we ever won the lottery, it would be hard for Aaron and I not to buy up at least 20 of these classic cars between the two of us. You are allowed to bring in coolers with your own food and drinks, including alcoholic beverages. I usually will bring sandwiches for early, and then when it gets later, we like to try a couple of the food truck offerings. In addition to the classic cars, they also had old tanks and military equipment set up, and over in another area was many years worth of vintage tractors. Some of these models were used right here in Clewiston during harvests gone by. Did I mention there was a petting zoo? The animals were so adorable. The Sugar Festival always brings a few national acts every year. We've even been lucky in the past and seen a few artists here early that have gone on to become big stars. 2 years ago, we saw Ella Langley right before she blew up and became the superstar she is now. For this year's event, they have the Yacht Rock Review and fireworks on the main stage Friday night. Saturday's lineup is Zach John King, Nico Moon, Justin Moore, and Tyler Hubbard from Florida-Georgia line. This year, I finally broke down and decided to try the award-winning crab cake sandwich. My crab cakes I make at home are definitely tastier, but these are still really solid. After packing up everything, we had to stop for one more drink back at what we think is the best bar in Clewiston, Brenda's Place. Fortunately, we were able to get over here and score a table before they got totally packed. It was definitely very lively at Brenda's Place tonight. In addition to the people who had piled in after Sugar Fest, there was a big birthday party going on. And to our surprise, they were loading the jukebox up with a bunch of old 80s tunes Aaron and I love. What a great way to finish out what was an amazing day out in Clewiston, Florida.